There we go. We are right at the top of the hour. My name is Shanye, and I'm joined by Lucy for our community conversation today on January 13th. We have a great call coming from Lucy on intake diversion for beginners. We are going to kick it off fast today. That way we can get to everything that Lucy has. So we do have a question of the day today. What are your New Year's goals? And if y'all want to post that in the chat, we would love, love, love to hear about your New Year's goals for 2025, as well as introduce yourselves in the chat and where you're joining us from. So I'll give y'all a second to get that going. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Kelly from Maddie's team, and we're going to jump into our December grant winners. So let's see who won some money this past month.
Hey, Shanye. Thank you so much. Happy New Year, everyone. This is so fun, kicking off the new year with some grant announcements. All right, let me share my screen. Oh, I'm about to give it away. Hold on. I want to give away the winners before I'm supposed to. All right. Shanye, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see this? Awesome. Okay. So, start. So, I am announcing our December prize winners here. So for our weekly community conversations, that is for watching either live or on demand this call. We have two winners from December, $2,500 each. And that's Ali Oropeza of Paws of Grays Harbor and Kat Parker from Dirty Little Paws Rescue. And then for our Maddie's Pet Forum monthly giveaway, $3,000. Our winner is Teresa Swisher of Carroll County Humane Society. And then lastly, our Maddie's Fund 30th anniversary Cuddly prize pack giveaway. That winner is Ali Martinez from Panhandle Animal Welfare Society. So congratulations to our winners. And if any of the winners are on the call and want to unmute real fast and say hi, please do so. Do we have any winners here?
I don't see them in the lineup.
Yeah, I'm not hearing anybody. All right, well, if any of the winners are here and you just can't unmute, that's okay. You can just pop everything in the chat and say hey. And we are very excited and proud of all the work you're doing. Back to you, Shanye and Lucy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Congratulations, yeah, to all of our winners. Again, if you guys are here, just go ahead and post in the chat. We'd love to hear from y'all. Next up, we are going to jump into national updates. So we ask that you do put these in the chat as well. If you have any national updates to share, now's the time. We go ahead and post it in the chat. National updates can include whatever. If you have something cool going on at your organization, I know we have some conferences coming up. If you're speaking, let us know. We'd love to support you. So go ahead and post any of that information in the chat.
Hey everybody, it's Kathy from Humane Canada. Hi Shanye, hi Lucy, yay!
Hi.
I will put it in the chat, Shanye, but our Summit for Animals is coming up. The abstracts have closed. We've got some great speakers lined up. Thank you, Allison. And so yes, in the chat, she's got information about the super early bird discount, which has ended, but the early bird discount is still up and running. So have a look. Consider registering. Come and visit us in beautiful Montreal, Quebec, where if you are like Jennifer Toussaint from the Animal Rescue League of Arlington, who spoke at last year's conference, your last name will give you away, and the French-Canadian border guards will try to speak to you in French.
Thank you so much. And thank you for Allison for posting that in the chat. Do we have any other national updates that are coming?
Hi, it's
Hello.
sorry. It's
No, go
Kristen.
ahead.
Sorry, it's Kristen from Community Cats podcast. We get a couple of virtual events coming up this week, actually. Tomorrow, we have a free webinar, Better Together, TNVR and Public Health, and that's going to be with Dr. Robert Whedon. And that's all about how TNVR efforts also assist in public health initiatives. And then we have Surrender Prevention. It's a certification workshop on Wednesday. And that is with Dr. Rachel Geller, and that's learning about the top reasons for surrender, empathizing with owners and how to address their challenges, and how to guide both those parties to a happy conclusion to keep the cats out of the shelter. So couple of fun things. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you. I believe we have 1 minute for one more.
I'll jump in. It's Elke from Haas. We have perfect timing with Lucy's presentation today. Hopefully pretty soon this week, we're going to be sharing our findings from our intake triage project, which really focused on understanding who's entering the shelter and why. So be on the lookout for communications this week, and you'll have access to all of those findings.
Thank you, Elke. Okay. Thank you for your national updates. If you have any more, please go ahead and post those in the chat. And then Lucy, we're going to go ahead and kick it off for your presentation. I am so excited.
Thank you all so much for showing up on this fun Monday, depending on whatever your whatever time zone you're on. It might be super early, it might be in the afternoon. So hopefully you guys had a bit of lunch, maybe not too much lunch so you don't doze off. I know that's how I work. But yeah, so thank you all so much. Basically, it's just intake diversion for beginners. I know I've done intake diversion for everyone, how to improve your intake diversion, all that stuff. So just going to go ahead and every year and it seems like every day things change, new updates are happening and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of share and give some insight to kind of, get people started or improve your processes. First things off, I'm going to go ahead and get into who I am, what I'm doing, and what organization and all the fun stuff that we do at Austin Pets Alive. To the next slide. I run the PASS program, lovingly known as PASS, but that's more of an internal acronym. So it stands for Positive Alternatives to Shelter Surrender. So it's intake diversion, community outreach, surrender prevention, just all those sorts of basically collaborations that we do to help people keep their pets or keep them out of the shelter and giving them other options. A lot of the folks in the world see us all, no matter how much we try, whatever, we're always going to beat the pound, whether you're a rescue, a municipal, the public kind of sometimes doesn't know, right? And so especially when they're in crisis, they don't know. So we try to connect them and be like the go-to, place for folks to get pet help. To the next slide. So what is PASS? The origin, it started in 2010 as one of the priority program recommendations, starting the No Kill Austin movement to provide intake diversion support for members of the community and their pets. This is when the internet was in its infancy. So it was basically just setting up a table and a folding chair outside of the municipal shelter in Travis County and asking people, hey, can we do anything to help you keep your animals, right? The mission is to provide resources and services to Texas residents who are experiencing challenges. We have since expanded to supporting the entire state of Texas, which is a heck of an undertaking, but very worthwhile and just a really great collaborations that we get to work in partnership with a lot of municipal agencies, human support agencies, et cetera, to help the people that love their pets that are having to make really just difficult decisions and to kind of help not stop intake at shelters, but at least to kind of slow it down a little bit, right? Just to try to help connect people to those common sense resources that we know as industry experts and rescue folk, but the the general animal lover, as I lovingly call them, civilians. I'll probably refer them as civilians from here on out, that they're not aware of, and how we connect that. And while Austin Pets Alive does, pull in place and help over 10,000 animals from different shelters, partners in Texas, the PASS program goes ahead and helps connect the public to resources and support options. Since we don't typically intake publicly owned animals, we have a municipal partner, Austin Animal Center, that does that part. Go on to the next one. Very small and mighty team. So I am the Senior Intake Diversion Pass Manager. I started out as a used cat salesperson. I was a cat adoption counselor when I first started with Austin Pets Alive. Before that, I was a community manager at a video game company, and I did tech support. So I dealt with angry nerds, and I traded it in for angry cats. And in 2022, I took over as the PASS program manager to go ahead and start implementing volunteer support options, SOPs, and then, of course, most importantly, data tracking. Katya is my right hand, my amazing coordinator, and she started as a neonatal program, foster program coordinator. And then she started as my coordinator back in 2023, and anytime there's like found kittens, which in Texas, it's every like 5 minutes, it feels like, she's the go-to, and we kind of help, with the community cat stuff and neonatal stuff. But she's also bilingual, so she's helped with many other staff and volunteers who've helped translate a lot of our stuff into Spanish speaking, which surprisingly enough is a very big access barrier, and we'll get into that as well. And then I have amazing volunteers that help with the Facebook community, which is 78,000 people. Our pet pantry that helps feed over 400 to 500 pets a month. And then, of course, data. Some of the reasons that people reach out, I'm sure everybody here, I'm preaching to the choir. We get a lot of folks that, hey, you're that rescue that we saw on the Instagram. I found this cat, or I need to surrender my dog, and all that other stuff. So while our, the main organization handles a lot of the partner rescue stuff for animals that are at risk of euthanasia, we go ahead and handle those pet help, like individual requests. That's usually with found pet support, or we do finder to foster, pet food supplies, behavior training recommendations, temp foster, boarding placement, veterinary care resources, and supported self-rehoming. How the heck do you do that with like 10 people? And I'm going to get into that. How can people reach you? Accessibility is obviously a big barrier, right? A lot of the times people need help, don't know where the heck to find you. So we try to reach everybody where they're at. So we have we're on the website, Austin Pets Alive, there's a pet help section, and then that has all the resource guide, all the resources, and the contact form. Everything's in English and in Spanish. Our support request form, we moved everything over to form-based rather than just Facebook or just a single user inbox, because again, data tracking, and also more efficiently getting the information that you need to triage and go ahead and respond to avoid back and forth and time delays. The PASS Facebook community, some of y'all I think have already been on there and seen it. It just keeps growing and growing. I think it's almost doubled at this point from 2 years ago. Which has been really a blessing and a curse. But the moderators are, the volunteers are just amazing in that. And a lot of it kind of going and staying updated on Facebook community standards, as far as selling animals versus rehoming, and kind of being careful how we navigate those things. But it's been really amazing there. We have a universal account that everybody can go ahead and communicate through. So nobody's having to work 24/7, which is, again, kind of getting into the self-care and well-being of our staff and volunteers, which I know is important for everybody here. And then obviously email, and then walk-ins. We'll go to the next one. All right. So how do you do it with 10 people? We don't. We do it with an entire village of everybody. And with that, it's going into your ecosystem. And I'm going to go into, there's a lot of toolkits already. There's a lot of trainings, and all the organizations are putting all these things together and collaborating really effective at a higher level. But as far as like the execution of it, how do you get started, right? And kind of looking at your ecosystem, because you are not the only person. You are not the only program. You're not, like there's all these intentional things. So you just have to be aware of them and engage and build relationships with those organizations and the people that work in there, because we're all in that same goal of keeping pets out of the shelter, but you have to help the humans in order to do that, since, unfortunately my cats don't pay rent. And so I don't know. So that kind of makes it a little bit trickier, and access to homes for pets and all that stuff that's more affordable is obviously a big barrier. So connecting with these different organizations, there's a bunch of them. If you go to findhelp.org, there's also pets.findhelp.com, which is put together by Human Animal Support Services, that's built out of the same framework as findhelp.org. Put your zip code in there and you'd be surprised at how many different agencies and stuff like that. If you're not aware of it, it used to be Aunt Bertha back in the day. So get into it. Find out your ecosystem. You are not alone. You're not the only expert in the thing. I'm not really an expert in anything except for just being patient and an extrovert. I don't do veterinary stuff. I don't do dog behavior, but I have amazing teams of, just rock stars that I can rely on for kind of supporting case management and crisis management. So the divide and conquer. And so, Integral Care, Central Texas Red Cross, Sunrise Navigation Center. These are all, Central Texas and Austin based. But find them in your neck of the woods. They're helping clients, and they have experts and people with degrees that are social workers and peer counselors and substance abuse counselors. And they have people that come in all the time with pets, and you're looking to help those people, right? So just kind of bridging those relationships is so, so, so important. To the right of that, you have that's the flyer that we hand out with every single partnership client, every single bag of food that we hand out. We have this flyer that goes out with them. We've had different design or remakes of it, but it's the same kind of thing. Our common sense is not the typical civilian's common sense. Where your free and low cost spay and neuter clinics are, all that stuff. That is just not, it's not common sense. So we want to make sure that everybody knows, instead of like having to wait to find you, they should be able to access this information always. And the QR code goes to the resource guide. There's one in English and in Spanish. Again, always, always, always having bilingual support is imperative, or, whatever language it is native to your local ecosystem, and making that accessibility. So the scratch pay, care credit, all those things, good pup, fear-free training, all those types of things. People don't know. They don't know what a DAP is. They don't know what microchipping does. They don't, that's it. We can say it till we're blue in the face, but we have to keep on patiently saying it, because it really, really is super important that people know about, optimal behavior training, right? Non-adverse training, and the recommendations that we know about internally that we train and work through in our animal care. But the typical civilians, typical civilians don't know about. So making that common sense comment and handing those out. No, you can go back to that. You're doing great. Click to the next one. Again, I mentioned our pet pantry. The flyer goes with them, with every single client, every single partnership. We give stacks of them out too. And because we want those human support agencies, regular clients to learn and share. That's all we do, is learn and share. And that's that kind of curiosity and sharing and patience and things like that is how we kind of build those relationships to have people trust us when we tell them, hey, spay and neuter. You're not just somebody who's just judging someone and making them feel shamed about having an attack dog. You are building a relationship with them so that you can go ahead and get to that goal and meeting people where they are. And it's not always necessarily going to happen, but it's a start of that relationship and trust building, which is required for us to be, to tell people, hey, you should do this, you should do that. I don't let strangers tell me what to do, right? But I'm going to tell, but if I listen to somebody who knows better that I can trust, then, you're going to go ahead and be much more malleable to having those conversations. And then we distribute food and supplies to over 400 to 500 owned pets. And then when we get large donations, we partner up and we distribute out to a whole bunch of different partners. I think we have like 30 or so partners within Central Texas that we distribute out to. Decentralization of services is key. You know, a lot of the time shelters are, you know, sort of tucked away somewhere. You know, we're by railroad tracks. And it's like this one dead end road where Austin Pets Alive is, if anybody's ever visited our Town Lake Animal Center campus. So it's not very ideal. People can take a bus or whatever, but you know, it's just not accessible. So like getting stuff to where they are with those human food pantries, with those other like Meals on Wheels and Mobile Loaves and Fishes. I know these are local to Central Texas, but finding those other places that are doing human food distribution and connecting them with food, leashes, sweaters, etc. So that you're not having to like build an army of volunteers. Somebody already has a distribution center set up. You know, they already have a forklift and a warehouse and all that stuff. Give them the stuff, give them the information, you know, and also taking the lunch too, like humanizing that and volunteering in their spaces as well, so that you're not just one of those people that's like evangelizing sort of like as a, I don't know, it's just sort of very, you're just displaying it for ha-has, but like not actually sustainably wanting to make a change. And that's not what this type of program is about, trying to make a sustainable change and impact into things and not just sort of performatively, you know, okay, we did a thing, now we solved everything and we walk away. And again, this part of the work is not for everyone, but I'll get to that too. Go to the next. Medical assistance resources. Again, people do not know what they don't know. And a lot of the times in animal welfare spaces, we have this notion of, oh, they don't care. They don't care about their pet. They don't care about themselves. They don't care about what they're doing. No, they just don't know. So we want to go ahead and offer that stuff for people to go ahead and self-serve, have it on your website, have it all available. And most of these are all partnerships. These aren't done through Austin Pets Alive. They're done through Emancipet Services. They don't know that there's a voucher program through the city, which is funded by our tax dollars, that allows these things. So those types of things are just sort of really important to kind of get all that stuff out. People don't know the laws. So they see our shelter and our veterinarians treating animals, but they're like, no, these are the ones that are in custody of our rescue. We can't offer this, you know, public. However, here are these other services and that kind of thing. So making people aware of, you know, what you can and cannot do. And then having like the no but philosophy is basically what what it's called, is just, no, we can't do that. But here are these other options. And compassionately and patiently kind of going through them with folks is really, really important. Because, you see it in the comments of every single post with animals in it, right? Why don't you microchip your pet? Oh, you should spay and neuter your pet. What the hell's wrong with you? You should do, and it's just like, where? How? I barely made rent. I'm actually late on rent, like how, like where, right? So we want to be detailed. We want to be intentional when we're commenting on anything, when we want to talk to people, when we want to meet people where they're at, because your common sense isn't the typical civilians or the typical regular pet owners. So we just have to understand that. Go to the next. Supported self-rehoming. Most people know the Positive Alternatives to Shelter Surrender program through the Facebook community, which started in 2017, I think, and has been long going. This is an old screenshot. We're actually at 78,000 members. And so this is basically where we route people to go ahead and rehome their pets. We also post fundraisers. We allow people to post for temporary fosters, things like that. If they need food, particular food or whatever, we share their wish lists and things like that. And so it's just sort of a hub for mutual aid. And one of the biggest parts about it is like getting volunteers that you can get buy-in from, that are not going to be judgmental, that are going to be compassionate, critical thinking, and actually, doing the work. I know that there's a lot of feelings, experiences, thoughts, biases, judgments. We don't allow any of that stuff in here. I don't care how you feel about something. Like you say, oh, you married somebody who's allergic to your cat that you had for 8 years. How dare you? If you're shaming people, you're out. So we very much believe in this, in that philosophy. And it is part of our rules that people agree to. So we say, hey, you broke the rules by, I get it. There are a lot of feelings about why can't you do this? Da, 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 da. Unless you're actually going to offer to help or provide like actual value to a comment or post, you just we don't allow that. And we have very good moderators that are constant. I have a couple of volunteers that have been volunteering for longer than I've been the manager of the program. So it's been and I know it's tough. Like I said, it is not for everyone. Just like dog care and dog behavior isn't for me. Um, uh, you know, this part isn't for everyone. And so I'll talk about more front of house versus back of house, how they both add value to the, and I love metaphors, by the way, but front of house and back of house, how, they're both needed to run a successful restaurant and that kind of thing. But your front of house has, very different mission from your back of house, but they're still aligned to the same goals. Yeah, we can go to the next one. We have courtesy postings. A lot of the times, like obviously, your website or whatever has a lot of views about like what animals are available. In case you don't know, Adopt a Pet has a rehome structure. You can sign up for an account through your agency and they give you a 5-digit code. They have an iframe embed that you can put on your website. Again, this is not for everyone because I know not everybody here is a website developer, and some of y'all have to get permission from the city to do updates or whatever. But these courtesy postings are really, really important to kind of getting that visibility. No, they're not our animals. They're not in custody. However, housing it, because a lot of times people are like, oh, just post on Facebook or post on your next door. If they don't have followers, if they don't have a built-in community, they're not really sharing it to anywhere. But you get to go ahead and still assist with people kind of sharing their pet for whatever reason. Again, I'm not here to judge and I'm not here to interrogate, right? So we just want to go ahead and offer that. Again, it's unfortunately sometimes if somebody's in crisis, they're having to make really tough decisions about rehoming, they're feeling judged, that sometimes if they're feeling judged or attacked, they're going to go ahead and turn a dog loose when they don't want to. They're going to have to leave it in their apartment. They don't want to. And I know the public perception is like, these people are monsters. How dare they? This is disgusting. They should all go to jail, hell, or both. But like, that's not, oftentimes that's not the case. These people are desperate and they don't understand that like, we're not the pound, we're here to help, but they don't know that. Common sense isn't common. We have to be more patient and compassionate in that understanding. So giving them these options and opportunities to go ahead and showcase their beloved fur baby that they're having to make this horrible choice on. And then Adopt a Pet also has on their website, they, when they post a rehome, there's options and opportunities. Like if there's a medical issue, there's some grants so that they can apply for. Here's some behavior resources for support for training and things like that. So Adopt a Pet also has a lot of this kind of stuff. Again, this is a 2-person staffed program. So a lot of it sort of outsourcing and referring is like how we kind of can sustainably do this. Because I know a lot of people are like, well, we need funding and we need people. Well, until you get all the funding and the people, here's how you can get that going, right? How can you, still build that out? And it's not going to be perfect and stuff's going to go wrong. It's, but you just kind of see the progress, and I'll go into the year-over-year data too later. All right, to the next thing. Training, learning, and more. This is like the big one, and I just finished rethinking rescue this morning, so I'm gonna fangirl the hell out of it. If you don't know who Lori Weiss is, she's like the godmother of intake diversion. She started it in Skid Row, sort of just as sort of like a hobby of a thing, and then she became like this pioneer of giving compassion to the people that love their animals regardless of their circumstance. And I know that that's a really big part because unfortunately and inadvertently, like a lot of the times people come into this type of work wanting to help the animals and not seeing that there's a bigger problem. The animals that need help typically are tied to a person that exists that is an economic hardship, that it has enough barriers socioeconomically, based on their race, based on their background, based on all these different things, right? So we need to be listening to them. And if we want to help the animals, we need to be patient with them in order to actually help the animals. Because until an animal can make its own spay and neuter appointment and drive itself, we rely on the people, right? And again, that part of it isn't for everyone. There's a lot of patience that, and questionable moments of insanity, but it's worth it when you kind of get to build that relationship and somebody goes ahead and gets into housing, their animal gets fixed and all these types of things. And those sort of journeys are really amazing. So the base training, Maddie's University and Human Animal Support Services started of course, my cat wants to jump on the counter right next to me. I'm like, wow. Anyways, pets. So Maddie's University and Human Animal Support Services have a pet support services sort of self-paced course that exists that is really it's really cohesive and it has a bunch of resources and toolkits and stuff, trauma-informed care, things like that. So please take it, please dig into that. It's remarkable. And then there's also other courses that kind of come out of that. I wanted to, this kind of got casted out and saying, hey, who wants to talk on Monday? We have a emergency opening. And I said, okay, great. So I wanted to kind of make sure that we're highlighting not only the toolkits, but the philosophies and the persons that it takes to do this type of work. So you're getting people that are intentionally going to do well and stay sane and not get in over their head, which is it's a test sometimes, but also understanding like the self-care and the self-reflection that it does take to actually do this well. So I wanted to kind of get into that. So compassionate communication webinar recording, the best thing ever. Get into it. No shame, no saviorism. Again, not for everyone. It is really, really difficult. I'm not going to, this isn't a shame thing. This is just a facts thing, predominantly middle and upper class white ladies that run the show of rescue, which again, love all of them. But that kind of when you're saving, poor helpless animals, that, you're ignoring the fact that somebody is freezing with that dog. Right. I kind of go into that a little bit in my regular work. People message and they're like, somebody's holding a sign and the dog doesn't have a sweater and they're da 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 da. I said, okay, cool. What is the dog's name and what's the person's name? And they can't answer that. So that obviously tells me a lot of, okay, I don't just go drive around and go save everything. I'm not going to do that. Like, that's not realistic. And we need to make sure that we're working realistically and intentionally. But we also want to stop enabling that sort of shame and saviorism and call it out and correct it when we can. And I know that that's really, really tricky. And again, because this isn't for everyone. I work with a lot of like APOs and, trapping folks and, foster-based rescues and large rescues and all this other stuff, vet clinics and things that they're like, I don't want to go into it with this person, but I need to go ahead and help their animal. I said, great, I'll talk to the person, you go save that animal. So it's a divide and conquer. I'm not a veterinarian, I'm not a behaviorist, et cetera, but at least having that, somebody that can go in and deal with the patients of that and also know the stakeholders to go ahead and duct tape those solutions. So that's kind of, and having that compassionate communication. If the person, if you get somebody to watch that or you watch it and you're like, oh, those people, da, 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 this is not for you. And that's okay. That's going to take some more, maybe implicit bias work, some kind of, reflection stuff, but that isn't for you. And again, that is fine. I'm not a data nerd. I don't know how to make a pivot table really. Everybody has their superpower in this work, right? And so we also have to recognize and respect those things from each other and from ourselves. And then, and we're hiring more intentionally, we're training more effectively. Because otherwise, if you're teaching somebody to do something they don't want to do and it's not for them, burnout, resentment, anger, pushback, all the things that we probably handle all the dang time, right? And so, again, getting into compassionate communication webinar, fantastic. There's also a billion other promoted things, but like, I only have like 25 or 35 minutes for this. So I just wanted to kind of highlight and we can get into Q&A stuff because I know that there's going to be a lot of that and I love it. Customer service for animal shelters. It is very, very just like a very brief thing about, the front of house versus back of house, a lot of the times people come into animal welfare work that they're just wanting to, help the animals. I want to, help with foster placement. I want to help with all these other things. You're dealing with humans still. You're always going to be dealing with humans. I think a lot of times people go into animal welfare thinking they're going to snuggle puppies and kittens. And then all of a sudden they don't realize how much poop and how many people they have to deal with. And then they're like, oh crap. Literally, how are we going to deal with this? Right. So, but understanding that like there are a lot of people that you have to deal with. And so understanding, customer service, people just kind of being more respectful of their colleagues, of the volunteers that are donating their time, of the fosters that are donating their homes, right? How are we able to respect that and honor everybody's contributions to that thing? Implicit bias tests. Everybody has implicit bias. Everyone. There's, we obviously I can go into all the, inequity DEI stuff, which I'm sure you're all familiar with and you've been forced to watch whatever, as sort of this like a checkbox thing. But like to intentionally understand yourself, you really have to do that kind of work. Understanding how we were raised and where we were raised and the communities that we grew up in, that we have a privilege to certain parts. And then that gives us a lens of bias, and we may not be explicitly biased and, racist, prejudice, what have you. But there are a lot of like 30-year-old, white woman versus, 40-year-old Black guy getting a pit bull. Sometimes those are handled differently, right? We've seen it. I'm not going to ignore it, right? So that is something we need to be better about if we're going to go ahead and place animals for adoption, if we're going to help people in the community, et cetera, right? We have to do this implicit bias work if we're going to be client facing. If you're going to be handling customers, clients, and things like that, you have got to do the work for yourself. Organizations and managers and directors have to go ahead and push for that. They have to do the work themselves, because this isn't just at a kennel tech level versus a director level. Everyone cumulatively has to do this work and be aware of it. And it's not, again, nothing's perfect. We just have to recognize issues and correct them within ourselves if we're going to be worth a damn in this. And then the 4 agreements. Yeah, so for self-awareness, self-reflection, and sustainability, also accountability, people have to just kind of do the work on themselves. So the 4 agreements, and I'm going to mess this up because I always do, even though I should have it tattooed on my forehead at this point. Don't assume anything. Never assume anything. Yeah, don't assume anything. Always be impeccable with your word. What the heck are the other 2? I know. Don't take it personal. Thank you, Jose. I knew Jose would hop in. Of course you did. And do your best. Yeah. So the 4 agreements, get the book. I have a little placard above my desk at work. So yeah, a lot of the training isn't just a toolkit. It's not just and don't get me wrong, those are amazing too, because I couldn't have done a lot of the stuff that I do now or whatever, but to sustainably do it, effectively do it, and to train it to other people, to keep a group of volunteers motivated to continue to donate their time for this stuff, it takes that kind of work inward to kind of do that. And I don't have it perfect, because Lord knows I've been had the strong talking to from my director about cussing a lot and things like that. So this isn't a matter of I'm very self-aware of any shortcomings, but constantly every single day, keep showing up, keep giving a crap. And I lost that background, which Charlotte, you'll have to send to me later. But yeah, Rethinking Rescue just dropped a couple of months ago, I think. And it's about Lori Weiss and her journey of making an intake diversion program in Skid Row. She also, Lori did a book on First Home, Forever Home, which was amazing. So yeah, so please, I highly recommend it. If you get the audio book though, I'm going to tell you and warn you a cringe warning. There is some content warning. Obviously, it deals with, human, vulnerable population, humans and animals. So there is going to be a triggering content warning. However, if you get the audio book version, it is a white woman narrator who is doing inflections of African-American males, which it's pretty cringy, but The message is really great. The chapters are great. It was just a really wonderful book. So, and it gives you a really good perspective and insight as to, like, it also goes into the history of like best friends and Maddies and all these things. And it even mentioned the past program, which I was excited about. And then it did, so like all these different things about all the different efforts and how they all kind of come together to make, more of an impact, effective change, not only in animal welfare space, but the human well-being spaces as well. So add them all to cart. I don't make any commission off of it. I wish I did, but like add them all to cart. Yeah, so the next one. This is sort of like just like a baseline training for people, because I know that anybody who has a physical shelter, or even if you are just you work in animal welfare, and people just see you with your staff shirt, you are an expert. No matter if you're in the accounting team, if you're in the marketing team, if you're a veterinarian, if you are a dog behaviorist, people are going to ask you about, how do I trap a cat? I found a pregnant dog. I need medical, whatever. They're going to see that you're part of an organization or entity in animal welfare, and they're going to ask you animal related stuff. And you don't have to be the expert about it. You just have to say, hey, thank you so much for asking. Thanks for helping this pet. Here's this information. So getting your adoption counselors, getting your, everybody at your organization kind of versed into how to handle, because as soon as you have a staff shirt, volunteer shirt with the logo on it, people go to you and they're going to ask. And you still thank them. You don't shame them. You don't judge them and say, oh God, another one of these. Refer them to the pet support options in parts of your organization or in your community. Always thank people. And then also you can correct them, give them information. Thank you so much for helping this found animal, even though you just took it 2 counties over. This is how you're going to scan for a microchip, right? Again, your common sense isn't, they think that they did something good, and they did. They, like it could have possibly about to get, eaten by a coyote or hit by a car, whatever worst case scenario, dramatization of a thing that's happening or that could have possibly happened. They try to help with good intention. However, now there's your opportunity to say, thank you so much, but don't assume that it was dumped. Everybody, there's a dumping ground there. This was dumped. Da, 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 da. Never, ever, ever, ever assume. And just so kind of getting all of your staff, all of your volunteers, fosters, whoever is part of your organization and in the community should know these sorts of basic things, because they happen all the time. We see it on Facebook. We see it on our next door. Da, da, da. Thank you so much. Let's not assume that it was dumped. Where and when was it found? Help them scan for a microchip. A lot of the times, fire department agencies and most vet clinics will go ahead and do it for free. Post them, and so we got this found pet bingo. I stole off the internet, and if you're with the organization that created this, thank you. You're a hero, and I would love to give you credit. So I forget what I got, where I downloaded it from. But yeah, so just kind of giving people these like, hey, thank you, but next time this, right? If it's in Travis County, again, this is all for the local stuff, but also understanding, giving people with perspective. 1 out of 3 animals goes missing in their lifetime. And the possibility of reuniting them to their owner once it's in the shelter drops to 5 to 18%. Depending on a cat or a dog, it's lower for a cat and then higher for a dog. But so people don't know that. Oh, wow. There's probably somebody in a robe and house shoes running around looking for their chihuahua, and it's now 2 counties away. Go give it back. So just kind of having that information. I tell people all the time, post on our Awesome Lost and Found Pets group. We have an amazing community of just very, very vigilant. And I say keyboard warriors actually in a loving way. Keyboard trolls are the one I don't like. It's the keyboard warriors I'm actually kind of not mad about. Because some people, like, amazing work gets done remotely. A lot of, remote support can still happen very effectively and efficiently for animals and people. So I don't, warriors is actually the point of pride, honestly, but the trolls is what I, and never meet them under their bridge. If you want to stay sane. But at any rate, so this is gonna like a baseline for all of your staff, volunteers, whoever, because if they know that you volunteer or you foster with whatever humane society, whichever shelter and stuff like that, they know you are the expert. So how do you kind of get them into the funnel of that common sense that you're versed to, that you're aware of, and just kind of get them into that ecosystem of that common sense. Go on to the next one. Yeah, so yeah, again, the front of house and in-person stuff, it's not for everyone. Even your back of house should know at least who, where to send them for front of house support. Because I don't want to have somebody who is, easily traumatized by certain things, or or whatever, can be like really impacted and affected by some of the cases that we work. It's like if somebody were like, here's like this dog that's like really growly with the hackles up or whatever, they're going to call Lucy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm going to lock myself in my office and then and then get on the walkie-talkie and call my experts. I'm not the one. So it wants to be the same kind of thing, right? You want to know who are your go-to people, that if there is a situation that they know who to call for. They can at least go ahead and thank them for coming by. Don't assume that, whatever, and then direct them to where that support is. They should know the baseline of support. That resource guide should be handed out to everywhere. You should be meeting with everybody or taking them out to happy hour to go over some of the points of that, all that stuff. We should be humanizing. I hate the notion of talking at, which ironically, I'm doing this little presentation thing, but I'm really, my part is like looking forward to the Q&A, which we'll get to. And so the notion of talking at instead of with, right? We have all these departments. I think APA is probably like 250, 260 people or whatever. You should know who everybody is in every department. You don't have to know their sign or anything like that, but you should know that guy is not just facilities. That's Ryan. That person isn't just neonatal. That's Gloria, right? Like you should know the people within these things, because I want to be humanized. When people are like, oh, hey, pass, this is for you. My name's Lucy. I happen to be the man, so humanizing that thing, every person, whether it's fosters, whatever, at least recognizing them to say, hey, good morning, like just being a good human, do unto others, I guess, right? Yeah, ask them, submit the link form. We have a form base. Again, that's how we collect our data, which I'll get into. You can also add stuff on their behalf. Sometimes they're seniors, literacy issues, technology barriers. So we want to go ahead and still allow people to get help, but sometimes again, meeting people where they're at. That resource flyer goes everywhere. I get them printed out all the time. And I have a giant magnet on the side of the van that I was issued last year with that QR code and all that. It's possible to need help with for their pets and themselves. Yeah, so a lot of times we'll give out those flyers, and then we get other people in the community that reach out and they're like, hey, my friend got food from y'all. Can you help me get my animal vaccinated? Absolutely. So like that word of mouth, getting to the community members so that, you're not going to drive around in an ice cream truck, get your vaccines here. Although I wouldn't mind if somebody donated an ice cream truck to my program. I'll never turn it down. And then one of the biggest things that I instill and I tout as from the mountaintops in rescue, we have to learn how to be okay with contributing and not controlling. That's probably one of the biggest things. Like I trust my behavior team like nothing else. I trust my vet team just with everything, my own animals, if I had to, right? You have got to understand your contribution and not staying in your lane. I don't believe in that either. Like be curious and volunteer with each other so we can know the kind of work that we're doing. But I'm not here to control or tell somebody else, oh, you're doing the wrong thing or da-da-da-da. No, absolutely not. I don't judge anything unless I know I can do a better job than somebody's doing at what they're doing. I'm not going to judge. I'll be curious, I'll shadow, and I'll try to contribute. So just kind of understanding those notions that you are not meant to control anything. I'm contributing to this person's journey and this animal's journey. And I'm okay with that. Because otherwise we get bogged down trying to control one little thing. And then all these other things are happening. It's like, no, it's okay. We'll listen, write down, get the facts over the feelings of a thing and go ahead and try to navigate a solution. And again, this isn't for everyone. All roles have value and not everyone is meant to be a people person. That's okay. Everybody has amazing value to this journey of animal welfare and well-being, human welfare and well-being. But we just have to be as humane with people as we are with animals in this part of the work. And also with ourselves too, but that's a whole nother call. And then next, how do you do a program like this efficiently, and how do you sustainably keep it going? Data, 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 and data. Dubert came down from the heavens at Texas Unites for Animals. It didn't come from heaven, but it came from Dubert is an organization that came into helping with transport stuff around the beginning of COVID, and then it's since morphed into this amazing thing where they have companion case management, which is what we use it for. They also have foster space. There's a travel one. We kind of we have a form base of a thing, and then we go ahead and that's how we manage everything. And then we use that data to go ahead and apply for grants and kind of showcase to the community, hey, this is what we're doing. They want stories, they want receipts, and the community wants it, donors want it, your board wants it, all that. So go to the next. And then my data 2023 versus 2024, we managed over 8,000 cases last year and just under 7,000 the year before that. They're by county, case types, all these other things. And then just a study that came out was keeping a single pet out of the shelter system saves a cost of $13 a day, or $47.45 annually for those people that need to get financial buy-in from your organization or community. So so those are the high summary things. And then to the next. And then learn and share. Community resource guide in English and Spanish. Facebook community moderating if you want to go ahead and start a community moderator, or if you're in Texas and you want to be a volunteer community moderator in your area. I'm very well versed in Central Texas, but Texas is an entire country. So we want to go ahead and get more people in their neighborhood to kind of support and volunteer in this sort of situation. Because it's more effective coming from people that know their neighborhood. There's 2,400 shelters and rescues in Texas. And then there's a little link on what is no kill, and to kind of help break down about the deal before no kill and versus kill shelters, which I cannot stand. But and then kind of understanding the divide and conquer and your part in this journey of the world. So yeah, so I think that's it. Let's go on to I think that's it, and then we can go into Q&A, I guess.
So we're actually at time, Lucy, but
Oh crap! Just kidding.
no, you're good. You're good.
I'm going to drop the link to the deck in the community conversation for this. So you guys can like steal copy whatever the heck you want, any of the graphics and stuff. So yeah, you're welcome to it. I think I'm going to be. I agreed to, but we're still trying to outline the times and dates of it. I do a pet support services course through Maddie's University, which is free. So we'll be taking applications, I'm sure, in the next couple months or something. And so, and I did a course last year, 2 of them last year. So I'm happy to kind of get into all the weeds and the details. Sorry for talking too long, but yeah.
We appreciate it. That was an amazing presentation. I know you will be also speaking. You're speaking at Expo, correct?
I'll be at Expo, yeah, of course, at the buffet and maybe a couple of shows.
Yeah, so you can join Lucy on Maddie's Pet Forum as well, where they will be answering the additional questions that we did not get to, or see Lucy in person, where you can learn more about intake diversion and pass this program. So thank you, everybody, and we hope y'all have a great afternoon or evening, depending on where you are.
Thanks, y'all.
Great job, Lucy.
Thanks.
That was awesome.